Time once again for our English News Edition. And as usual, I'm Daniel Cook, your host, presenting the translated news Monday through Saturday at 6 p.m. According to the director of the Agency for Implementing the Territorial Reform, the new municipalities that are formed after the elections will depend upon the government and the policies that they choose to follow. The budgets for these new municipalities will also be made by the government. Director Skembi has clarified the manner in which the new municipalities will operate under the new territorial division. Under the new rules, the newly elected mayors will have the power to dismiss people from the administration as soon as they take office. This even includes administration employees that have just been hired. After June 21st, the budgets of the 61 new municipalities will depend upon the government, and only after January 1st, the new mayors will be free to make independent decisions. The head of the agency gave this assurance that there will be no problems in providing services to the citizens during this transitional period of 6 months. The new administrative territorial division will be a test not only for the new administrators of the local units, but for the government also, which will cooperate with all mayors, even those who are not from within its ranks. The EU ambassador Romana Vlahutin held a meeting today with some of the students from the city of Shkodra. She called them to participate in the voting process and to denounce any attempt at manipulation. The ambassador of the European Union asked for the passing of a law which would prevent the incriminated from running for public office. She expressed the belief that a law that strengthens the criteria for those who run for local elections may be a potential remedy for Albania's electoral ills. Ambassador Vlahutin said that the diplomats will not be the ones to reveal the names of the incriminated candidates, and that the parties themselves should be responsible to do this. She said, "There is no legislation that clearly defines who can run in the elections and hold a public office. But I think that this is a moral obligation to the voters. We have spoken about this issue, and I am sure that we will soon find a solution in the form of a law that clarifies who can run for office. This law will make sure that voters who are suspicious of candidates can access information about them. There were expectations that we would reveal the names of the incriminated, but we are ambassadors. We do not govern the country. We only say that there are incriminated people, but it's the responsibility of the parties, the law enforcement agencies, and you yourselves to gain knowledge about the candidates before you vote for them," said Ambassador Vlahutin. The EU ambassador also conveyed a clear warning that the June 21st elections will be a test for the opening of EU negotiations for Albania. "We will monitor the elections," she said, "and everything that we observe will be included in a progress report which will determine whether the negotiations will be accelerated." The head of the Socialist Movement for Integration, Alere Mehta, was invited to be a guest last night on the Ora News program Tonight Il Votare. Mr. Mehta made the declaration that the Democratic Party is attacking the SMI because they want to take second place, as they know they cannot compete with the Socialist Party. He said that there is no competition between the Democrats and the Socialist Party, and that the Socialist Party is the biggest in the country by the Democrats' own admission. He said that their only concern is to hold the second position, and that they are slandering the SMI for this reason. Mehta revealed on the show that the Democratic candidate for Pogradec had asked to run for the SMI, but he was turned away. He had good things to say about the Democratic candidates for Durrës and Tirana, saying that they are not following the typical tactics of their party and blaming Rama and Mehta for every problem. He expressed hope for the right-wing Shkodra candidate as well. "I hope that the Democratic candidate for Shkodra does the same thing as the Durrës and Tirana candidates," he said, leaving behind the old rhetoric of blaming the Rama-Mehta duo for everything. "She should be willing to cooperate with the Prime Minister if she wins. This would be a good message on her part," said Mr. Mehta. The Assembly Speaker also commented on the Vora case, in which the mayor was accused of trying to buy the votes of several citizens. "The Vora case is under investigation. I am sorry that the Democratic MPs are trying to hamper the work of the police. The Democratic Party feels that they are losing, and they are trying to slander the Socialist Movement for Integration," said Mr. Mehta. The Central Election Commission has announced that they will demand an explanation from the Civil State Director concerning the case of Durrës, in which 2,800 people were fictitiously added to the voters list. The chairwoman of the CEC, Lefteri Luzi, said that the commission will call the director of the civil state to explain the case. She said, "Tomorrow we will call the director of the civil state. If he cannot come, he can send a representative. We should not exaggerate the situation because it's about adding 0.7% of the number of the population." The Democratic Party representative in the commission said that it is the duty of the CEC to monitor the voters' lists. On the other side of the issue, the socialist representative feels that the situation is being exaggerated. "We have information about Kavaya and Vora as well, not only Durrës, so we should be requesting information about these cities also," he said. The chairwoman warned about administrative measures that will be taken against any leaders who manipulate the voting list. The head of the Albanian Touristic Union has said that the law on tourism will not be ready for this year's touristic season. He says that the most important thing is to complete a comprehensive law to govern the tourism sector. He thinks that the law will be ready by the end of the year. Infrastructure, drinking water systems, and power supply are considered to be the elements that need the most attention in the tourism sector. The head of the Albanian Touristic Union feels that tourists will be attracted to Albania only if these conditions are met. The highest number of tourists who come to Albania during the summer are in fact Albanians from Kosovo and Macedonia. That's all the news for this evening, ladies and gentlemen. Please be with us again tomorrow at the same time for more translated news in English. Thanks, and have a great evening.